Greetings, YouTube. This is a tool. It can be used in entertainment. It can be used to save lives. It can be used as a repository for information. I carry almost 300 gigabytes of data on this off on my SD card that is just of interest to me. 70 gigabytes of that is tabletop RPG material. Um, and it can also be used as a weapon. You can use this to harm others. Um, and like many tools, it's got many uses. You can use a knife to save a life or take one. The knife isn't the problem. This is a tool with multiple purposes. A knife is a tool with multiple purposes. This is a new tool, though. And for people who have not been raised, such as myself, as the generation of the smartphone, it's not a tool that has meshed well with a lot of our lives. I didn't adopt a smartphone until really late in life. I think I've been using a smartphone for like 4 years now. I think it was 55. I think I was 54 when I got my first smartphone. Other than that, I'd always had either flip phones or solid state phones, just dumb phones, unibody kind of things. And then I decided to make the leap to it because I realized that there were times when having that would make my life a little easier. And as time went on, I discovered that there is a lot of useful things this can do for me, and it's also very darn entertaining. I like Instagram, for example. I really do. I occasionally access YouTube on this, not often. Often just to play background music and stuff, or ambient music for when I'm trying to sleep, that kind of thing. I don't watch videos on this very often unless it's an instructional video when I'm in my shop trying to figure out something and I can't solve a problem. Um, but it's a strange and weird thing to some folks. It hasn't been, ingrained into our digital DNA the way the computer has. For example, I'm a PC user. I own a Chromebook, sadly, but I'm a PC user. This is what computers have meant to me always. And there are people out there who've never had a PC, and they've only ever had laptops. For them, PCs are from a previous generation. But there's a lot of overlap. People that have been raised on PCs and people that have been raised with laptops as the default form of digital communication um, have pretty much a very similar idea. This is a lot different. You carry this everywhere. It's in your hand whenever you want it to be. It lets you film things wherever you go. It's one of the reasons we've been seeing so much evidence now. Okay, it's the reason white people have been seeing so much evidence about the crimes committed by cops against black people in America. Because those crimes had always been taking place. It's just that white people didn't have to pay attention to it because they weren't happening to us. And now, thanks to these, we're now seeing what they're doing. And some of us are really darn pissed. Um, and it's got a lot of people afraid that these things are negatively affecting the mental health of teens. Now, again, this can be used as a weapon. You can harass people with this. You can undermine their mental health. But studies have been done, and overall, smartphones are not negatively impacting teens' mental health. They are having some negative impact on the mental health of older people in the sense that they are being overwhelmed by news and things like that. And it is being used by even older people as another way of getting their Facebook and their Fox News and their was it uh, One American Network or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. Oh, it's the OAN network and things like that. That kind of very uh, hothouse kind of information right out of the white supremacist playbook. So yeah, these can be dangerous. But the reason that teens are having such a problem with mental health lately, I don't think has anything to do with this. And the research is showing that it doesn't have anything to do with this. What it has to do with is the world. We're in year 3 of a pandemic that is not over. I know that some people pretended it never happened. I know that there are lots of people that are pretending it's over. It happened. It is happening. We're losing 600 people a week in America. 600 people a week. That's terrifying. All right? And that's, low for us for the most part. And what's going to happen when it mutates again? We're getting a better handle on it. The updates are being successful. My second bout of COVID was a lot less severe than the first bout. But people are still suffering and they're still dying. Partly because the former administration politicized a pandemic, which made no sense. But beyond the fact that these kids have been raised in an environment of a pandemic, look at the world that my generation, who I am technically a boomer, has handed to them. A world where fascism was on the rise across the globe. Authoritarian fascist governments are everywhere right now. In America, we have 73 million people who are willing to support white supremacy publicly, openly, naked, right out there. Boom, I will vote for a fascist. The economy is not doing well. The businesses are doing well. The billionaires are doing well. And they've used the pandemic as a smokescreen to steal money from Americans. And the government is using methods to combat inflation, except the tools they're using to combat inflation are tools that would be useful against actual inflation. We're not experiencing inflation right now. We're experiencing price gouging. We are experiencing corporations using the smokescreen of the pandemic and then the smokescreen of inflation to just keep ramping up their prices. These folks are making record profits, all the while, the average American is getting less and less for the dollar they have. And raising interest rates is not going to solve that, because the interest rates aren't what caused it. What caused it is corporate and billionaire greed. Those teens are being raised in a world where the planet is fast approaching an inability to support human life. And nobody's really doing anything about it. The people on the right are pretending it's not happening. And the people on the left, for the most part, are talking about it, occasionally wringing their hands, but they're not doing enough. Heck, in America, we're still subsidizing big oil. Why are we subsidizing petrochemical corporations? But we are. We shouldn't be subsidizing them. Heck, we shouldn't be giving them tax breaks. We should be not only making them pay the maximum amount out there we can, but we should be making them pay back all the money we've given them in the past. We've handed these teens a world that is falling apart. A world where depending on where they live, their life expectancy is shorter than their parents and maybe even their grandparents. Where you live in America right now can decide whether you have access to an abortion, at least a legal one. Depending on where you are may determine whether you have access to gender-affirming health care, or whether you're going to have your rights protected because you're gay. So there's lots of reasons out there for those kids to be stressed, to be anxious, for their mental health to be poor, and it's not because of this. It's because of this. It's because of old white people willing to end the world rather than face the reality of white privilege, of straight privilege, of cis privilege, of ageism and ableism and classism. as long as you don't talk about any of those things, you don't talk about anything that would make an old white person comfortable, they're happy. And if that means the whole world burns, well, then the whole world burns as long as they're not uncomfortable. And you expect teens to have a strong, firm mental health in that environment? Are you out of your ever-loving mind? The teens didn't do this. Smartphones didn't do this. We did this. The old white people did this. And now they're willing to believe anything if it means they don't have to face that reality. They'll blame the smartphone. They'll blame TikTok. They'll blame people eating Tide Pods. They'll blame anything under the sun if it means not facing the reality of the harm they have done to America and to the world at large. So long as, we don't teach about the fact that, folks threw rocks at Ruby Bridges going to school because the people that threw those rocks are their grandparents, and they don't want their grandchildren to know what the fact that they threw rocks at a little girl trying to go to school. So they don't want Black history taught in schools. If they pretend that, talking about gender is going to mean that you're never going to have any trans kids in the world, that's bull. There have always been trans people. There always will be trans people. It's just right now, people are hunting them for sport. I wish I was joking. So yeah, it's got nothing to do with smartphones or TikTok or whatever other thing that the old white people think is out there to blame for the world they see changing around them, and they're doing anything to avoid facing it. Instead of facing reality, they're just putting on a layer after layer after layer of rose-colored sunglasses until they're completely blind. But as long as they're comfortable, it's okay if the whole world burns. But I don't think we should expect teens to be happy about that.